The most horrible atrocities conceivable are committed by monsters that hide in society's shadows and leaves a trail of destroyed lives in their wake. From the brutal murders of innocent victims to the unspeakable abuse of the vulnerable, the world is plagued by a constant stream of horrific crimes. But you haven't witnessed the worst yet, and today's video will show you exactly that. Prepare to be shocked and disturbed by these abhorrent acts of cruelty and depravity, which will make you wonder about the very essence of humanity. So stay tuned. In a Jackson County courtroom, two men were found guilty of sexually assaulting two girls over the course of 6 years. James Tingley, age 70, and Randy Stevens, age 45, were both found guilty on 8 charges. 6 of those are for sexual crime in the first degree. Stevens received a minimum 6-year jail term in January 2014 for second-degree child abuse. He acknowledged taking his kids to see a convicted sex offender. Authorities alleged that Stevens assisted Tingley in sexually assaulting the girls. The Jackson County man was sentenced for 8 charges of criminal sexual conduct, and he will serve decades in prison. He was found guilty last month of providing his kids for hire to a predator next door. When Randy Stevens of Jackson becomes eligible for parole, he will be 85 years old. Even that seems doubtful after seeing how the trial played out on Thursday. Hopefully the parole board keeps you locked up like a rat in a cage, because that's right where you belong, said Judge Thomas Wilson, Jackson County. Stevens was found guilty of repeatedly assaulting his children while selling time with them to his 70-year-old neighbor, James Tingley. The prosecution asserts that everything was done in return for drugs, cash, and food. He was responsible for giving the females the key to the house, for ejecting them from the residence, and for collecting the payment. Stevens made the most of his one chance at freedom by making a 10-minute speech in which he sought to undermine the prosecution's case. He claimed that his trial did not follow due process, and he made an effort to place the responsibility to the police's unauthorized entry into his home on them. Nobody believed it. Stevens was given a jail term of 39 to 60 years. Judge Wilson argued for the victims at the end of his sentencing. He claimed to completely forget these terrible deeds from their mind, and that they would require many years of counseling. Tingley will probably spend the rest of his life behind bars together with Stevens. Tingley received a jail term of 25 to 50 years. The judge expressed his desire for the parole board to keep him there, caged up like a rat. What I heard during that trial turned my stomach, Jackson County Chief Circuit Judge Thomas Wilson said before delivering his sentence. Thinking of the fear the children must have had turned my stomach. For enabling James Tingley, 70, to commit a series of sex assaults, Stevens was charged with 3 first-degree and 1 second-degree counts of criminal sexual conduct. Tingley received jail terms ranging from 25 to 50 years for 1 case of first-degree criminal sexual conduct, 20 to 40 years for 2 charges of first-degree criminal sexual conduct, and 15 to 22 years for 2 instances of second-degree criminal sexual conduct. Before receiving his punishment, Stevens delivered a protracted speech in which he urged the court spectators to maintain their composure and criticized the case's illegitimate warrants and inconsistent witness evidence. County Assistant Kati Rezmierski was appreciative that he took the time to enumerate several legal decisions, including in particular the Payton v. New York case from the U.S. Supreme Court. "He's not going to change," she said. "He's a little tyrant with all his little minions and his redneck mafia out there. To him, children are nothing more than an animal and just a means to his ends." She further said, "He is the animal, not the children." Rezmierski compared the duplex where 2 girls were frequently sexually raped to a concentration camp for sexual offenders in a prior hearing. Stevens was given 6 sentences that will be served concurrently, 5 sentences of 25 to 60 years, 1 sentence of 39 to 60 years, and 2 sentences of 15 to 22 years. In 2014, a detective said that he reportedly pimped one of the females to Tingley. When the oldest girl was 4 years old, her dad started assaulting her sexually. Authorities earlier said that when the girl was 7 years old, his actions turned into intercourse. Stevens resides at the Coldwater Lakeland Correctional Facility. Tingley is presently incarcerated in Jackson at the G. Robert Cotton Correctional Facility, completing his term. But wait, the horror is not finished yet. Next, we have the case of Hannah Cornelius. Hannah Cornelius had no idea she was about to confront her murderers after being held captive for an 11-hour ordeal when she was carjacked at knife point by a wicked gang. The 21-year-old and her companion, Cheslin Marsh, 22, were in a remote area of Stellenbosch, South Africa, when they were held prisoner by a group who surrounded her car like a pack of wolves. Before Cheslin was severely assaulted and discarded, the thieves drove the buddies for hours. On the evening of May 27, 2017, Hannah was then repeatedly gang raped, fatally stabbed in the neck, and hit on the head with a rock. The horrifying case continued to astound the globe as the murderers, Vernon Whitboy, 28, Nashville Julius, 29, Geraldo Parsons, 27, and Eben Van Niekerk, 28, arrived in the court while grinning. The men made fun of their conviction by giving the judge the thumbs up as they were led away into prison, sneered in court, and one stuck out his tongue. 5 years after Hannah's terrible death, a new documentary, Last Blue Ride on Showmax, has shed light on the circumstances leading up to her passing and the difficulties her family faced after losing their cherished daughter. Just 1 year after the student's passing, Hannah's mother, Anna, drowned while going for her daily swim in Cape Town. Her damaged corpse was later found there. The drowning was declared a tragic incident, but Willem claimed he did not think his wife planned to terminate her life. Rather, he thought she just lacked the physical and emotional stamina to deal with her daughter's horrible murder. After a night out in May 2017, student Hannah and her companion Cheslin Marsh were carjacked. This was the beginning of their terrible experience. She had offered to drive Cheslin home, and as they were parking, a gang of 4 males came up to the car. The terrifying incident was captured on CCTV. They assaulted Hannah and Cheslin while they were sitting in the car, brandishing a screwdriver and a flick knife. Hannah was placed between the 2 front seats as the car was driven away, with Cheslin being forced into the rear seat and then the boot. The group stops at a gas station to withdraw money from Cheslin's bank account in later CCTV footage, but the assailant Whitboy is unable to do so because he is handed the incorrect PIN. Hannah is seen in the car during this time. In a police interview, Whitboy recalls how frightened Hannah was that she just looked out in front of her and did not speak at all. Even though Hannah would never again see her loved ones, the cold-blooded assassins gave her hope by saying they wished to take them both home. Hannah watched in terror, terrified that she would be the next victim, as the group took them both to a lonely location where Cheslin was battered with bricks and left for dead. But despite being knocked unconscious and left in a pool of blood, Cheslin somehow survived the attack, telling the police that he had closed his eyes and prayed before being hit. After regaining consciousness a day later, Cheslin was traumatized by the savage attack and rendered deaf in one ear, without being aware that Hannah had died. Hannah was dragged back into the car in her last moments and taken 12 miles from Stellenbosch to a country road. In that location, she was raped by Parsons, Van Niekerk, and Whitboy before being stabbed in the neck and having a huge boulder dumped on her, shattering her skull. The court heard how Hannah heroically resisted her captor's demand and warned them that if they saved her life, they may sexually attack her. Parsons said that the gang acknowledged being the first to rape and claimed to have slain Cheslin. He said the guys had intended to abandon her on a farm, but she had resisted. The guys continued their horrifying crime spree after murdering Hannah by pursuing a lady who was walking to work in neighboring Kraaifontein before robbing her of her purse and phone. After a fast-moving police chase in which Hannah's automobile was recognized by undercover officers, the group was eventually apprehended. After a trial at Cape Town High Court in 2018, her heartless killers were handed a cumulative prison term of 358 years, with 3 of the 4 gang members receiving life sentences. So that concludes our video. What are your thoughts on it? Please share with us in the comments below. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, and make sure to subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you with the next one. Until then, peace.